A city the color of beaten gold burns in the last hour of daylight, and into it tears a chariot. The wheels scream. The dust rises behind it like smoke off a fire. The man driving has the reins wrapped around his fists and murder already drying on his hands, because an hour ago he put an arrow through a king, and a king is not enough for him. He has come for the one who made the king. He has come for her. High in the palace, a window opens. A woman steps into it. She does not crouch, she does not run. She has lined her eyes with black, the way her mother taught her, the way the daughters of Sidon have done for 1,000 years. And she has fixed the crown into her hair, and she stands in the open frame like a portrait that refuses to die. Below her, the courtyard fills with men who switched sides in a single afternoon. She looks down on all of them. She is not afraid of one of them. For 30 years, no man in this kingdom has held her gaze. She has buried the prophets of a living God in shallow desert graves. She has fed false priests off golden plates at her own table. She has signed a murder with her husband's ring and called it law. She is a king's daughter, a king's wife, a king's mother, and she has never once, in all her life, been told no. The man in the chariot lifts his head, and she leans out over the ledge, and the last words the most dangerous woman in the world will ever speak are not a prayer. They are a taunt. Down in the courtyard, 3 servants stand pressed against the wall, listening. The horses shift and stamp in the dirt, and out beyond the horses, low and patient in the blue shadow of the palace, something moves that no one turns to look at. No one in that courtyard remembers the sentence a wild man in a coat of hair spoke over this exact patch of ground years ago, when she was young and gilded and certain she would outlive them all. The dogs of Jezreel are already in the street, and they are hungry. To understand how it comes to this, how a princess from the richest city on the coast ends her life thrown from her own window into the mouths of animals, we have to go back. Back before the chariot, back before the curse in the vineyard, back before the fire falls on the mountain, back to a girl and a wedding and a fleet of ships. She is born in the kingdom of the Sidonians, in the shadow of Tyre, where the sea is a road and the road leads everywhere. Her people are not farmers scratching at hard hills. Her people are merchants who sail to the ends of the earth and sail home rich. Purple dye worth more than its weight in silver. Cedar that frames the palaces of empires. Glass, gold, ivory, spice. The Phoenicians do not conquer the world with swords, they buy it. And a girl raised in a house like that learns early that everything has a price, and that there is always enough gold to pay it. Her father is Ethbaal. The name means with Baal, and he wears it like armor, because he is not only a king, he is a priest. Baal is the lord of the storm, the giver of rain, the god who is supposed to make the fields swell, and the womb open, and the whole world bow down obedient. In her father's house, the throne room and the temple share a wall. Power and worship are the same act. She learns this young. She learns it in her bones. Whatever you rule, you make kneel. Whatever kneels, you keep. And she learns one thing more. She learns that she is never wrong. Across the border, Israel is bleeding from the inside. The 12 tribes have split in 2, and the northern half has crowned a man named Ahab, and Ahab is hungry. He wants ships he cannot build. He wants cedar he does not grow. He wants an ally on the coast, and a treasury that does not run dry. So he does what weak kings have always done. He buys strength through a wedding. He sends for the daughter of Ethbaal. She crosses into Israel as a bride, but she does not come empty-handed, and she does not come to blend in. She comes with her gods on the carts behind her, and she comes with a plan. The God of this dusty little kingdom is invisible, has no statue, has only a handful of stubborn prophets and a worn-out law. Her gods have temples that gleam. Her gods have 850 priests. Her gods, she is certain, will swallow this land whole, the way the sea swallows a stone. She has a will like iron pulled straight from the forge, and in all her life no hand has ever bent it. That is her gift. That is also the thing that will one day kill her. She has never learned how to lose, so she never learns when to stop. The marriage seals, and she goes to work. She does not ask, she installs. She raises a temple to Baal in the heart of Samaria with an altar, and she plants a tall Asherah pole beside it, and she fills the royal payroll with 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah, 850 mouths fed every day from her table. And the king lets her. Ahab, who should be the shield of his own people, becomes the door she walks through. The scripture says it plainly and coldly. There is none who sells himself to do evil like Ahab, whom his wife stirs up. He holds the crown, she holds the king. And then she hunts. One by one, the prophets of the Lord begin to vanish, not in battle, in silence. Dragged from their homes in the dark, cut off, killed, buried where no one will find them. She is not content to add her gods to the land. She means to erase the other one. A man named Obadiah, who fears God and somehow still serves in the palace, takes a desperate gamble. He hides 100 of the Lord's prophets in 2 caves, 50 in each, and slips them bread and water in secret while the queen's men comb the hills above their heads. That is how dark it gets. The faithful are living in holes in the ground, fed in the dark, while the false priests eat off gold. This is her kingdom now. Quiet, obedient, bought. And then the rain stops, not for a season, for years. By the word of one man, a man from Gilead with a rough mantle and burning eyes, the sky shuts like a fist. No rain, no dew. The land cracks open, the grass dies, the cattle stagger, the whole nation begins to starve under a hard white sky, and the queen, who serves the god of the storm, cannot summon a single cloud. Her Baal is the Lord of rain, and the rain will not come. But she does not bend. She blames the troubler. She wants the prophet's head, and the prophet has vanished into the wilderness. For 3 years he is a ghost. And then, on a mountain called Carmel, he steps back into the light, and he calls for a reckoning. He summons all Israel to the mountain, and the 450 prophets of Baal with them. And he stands alone in front of a nation that has been sitting on the fence for years, and he says the line that cuts to the bone. How long will you halt between 2 opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answer him nothing. Not a word. They have grown too comfortable to choose, so he makes them choose. 2 altars, 2 sacrifices, no fire lit by any man. Call on your God, he tells the 450, and I will call on mine, and the God who answers by fire, let him be God. And the people say, it is well spoken. The prophets of Baal go first. They build their altar, lay the bull upon it, and they begin to cry out. O Baal, hear us. From morning to noon they cry, nothing. They leap on the altar, they cry louder, nothing. And the man from Gilead does something no one expects. He mocks them. Cry aloud, he says, for he is a god. Maybe he is talking, maybe he is busy, maybe he is on a journey, maybe he is asleep and must be woken. And the prophets go mad with it. They scream until their voices break. They cut themselves with knives and lances until the blood runs down, working themselves into a frenzy under the burning sun, hour after hour, and the heavens stay shut, and no voice answers, none regards them. Then it is his turn. He repairs the broken altar of the Lord with 12 stones, 1 for every tribe. He lays the wood, he lays the bull, and then he does the thing that turns a contest into a statement. He calls for water. He drenches the sacrifice, drenches the wood, once, twice, a 3rd time, until the water runs down and fills the trench around the altar. There will be no trick here, no hidden coal, no sleight of hand. Then he steps forward, and he does not scream, and he does not bleed. He prays one short prayer. Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God. Hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord. And the fire falls. It does not flicker up from the wood, It comes down from the sky, and it consumes the sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and it licks up every drop of water in the trench. The people fall on their faces in the dirt and cry out the thing the queen has spent years trying to erase. The Lord, He is the God. The Lord, He is the God. The 450 are seized at the brook below, and they do not leave it alive. And then a cloud rises out of the sea, small as a man's hand, and grows, and the sky goes black, and the rain comes roaring back over the cracked land at last. A runner carries the news to the palace, to Ahab, to her. And here is the moment that tells you exactly who she is. The man who just called fire out of heaven, who stood alone against 450 and won, who broke a 3-year drought with a single prayer. That man receives one message from this woman, and he runs. She does not send an army, she sends a sentence. So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. One line. And the prophet who feared no fire is gone before dawn, a day's journey into the wilderness, sitting under a juniper tree, begging God to take his life. It is enough, he says. Take away my life. The bravest man in the kingdom would rather die in the desert than spend one more day in range of her. That is her real power. Not the temples, not the priests. Fear. And this is how a soul learns to rule. Not by being strong, by making everyone else afraid to be. But fear is not the same as safety, and the iron in her will is about to turn on its owner. Because there is a man in Jezreel with a vineyard, and the king wants it. His name is Naboth. His vineyard sits right beside the palace, and Ahab decides he would like it for a garden of herbs. He even offers fairly, by his own measure, money or a better vineyard somewhere else. But Naboth will not sell, and his reason is not stubbornness. It is faith. The Lord forbid it me, he says, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. This land is not just dirt, it is his family's portion, given by God, held in trust through the generations, not his to hand away for a king's salad. And so he says no. And Ahab, king of Israel, conqueror of nothing, goes home and lies down on his bed, and turns his face to the wall, and refuses to eat. A grown man, a crowned man, sulking like a child because one honest farmer told him no. She finds him there, and she cannot believe what she is looking at. Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? She asks him. Arise, and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth. Do not trouble yourself with how. She will handle the how. She always handles the how. And watch what power looks like in her hands, because this is the heart of who she is. She does not send soldiers to take the vineyard by force. Force would be honest. She uses the law. She sits down and writes letters in her husband's name, and she seals them with his royal seal, so they carry the full weight of the throne, and she sends them to the elders of Naboth's own city. The instructions are precise, and they are evil. Proclaim a fast, make it look holy. Seat Naboth up high, in a place of honor, where everyone can see him, and then set 2 worthless men in front of him, 2 false witnesses, to swear that they heard him curse God and the king, and then carry him outside and stone him to death. And they do it. His own neighbors, the elders who have known him for 30 years. They proclaim the fast. They seat him high. They bring in the 2 liars, and they murder an innocent man with a rigged trial and a forged letter and a borrowed crown. And then they send word back to the palace. Naboth is stoned. Naboth is dead. She hears it the way you hear good news. She turns to her husband and she says, Arise, take possession of the vineyard, for Naboth is not alive, but dead. The garden is yours, my king. Enjoy your herbs. Before this ends, one question. How does a person reach the place where the death of an innocent man feels like a solved problem? Not in one leap. She does not wake up one morning a murderer. She gets there, one signature at a time, one silenced conscience at a time. The soul does not go dark all at once. It dims, slowly, until the day you sign a death warrant before breakfast and call it governance. But there is a witness she did not invite to the trial. Ahab goes down to walk through his new vineyard, and the prophet is waiting for him among the vines, eyes like the fire that fell on Carmel. "Hast thou killed," he says, "and also taken possession?" And then he speaks the sentence. "In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth, dogs will lick the blood of Ahab. The whole house will be swept away." And then, of her, the words that will hang over this story like a blade on a thread. "The dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel." And here something strange and quiet happens, and you have to watch it closely, because it is the most important thing in the whole story. Ahab, weak, bought, complicit Ahab, hears the curse, and he tears his clothes, and he puts sackcloth on his skin, and he fasts, and he walks softly, humbled. And God sees it. And God says, "Because he has humbled himself before me, I will not bring this evil in his days." The judgment is delayed. The door of mercy, even now, even for a man this guilty, swings open. And she watches it happen. She watches her weak, sulking husband bow his head and buy himself years of life with nothing but humility. The door is right there, in front of her, the same door, open just as wide for her as for him. All she has to do is the one thing she has never done in her life. Bend. Lower the iron. Say, for once, that she was wrong. She doesn't. While the world counts the cost of her crimes, something quiet is waiting in the dark, and it has all the time in the world. The years pass. Ahab dies first, exactly as the prophet said. He goes to war, and he is afraid of the curse, so he disguises himself, strips off his royal robes, hides in the press of ordinary soldiers, certain he has outsmarted heaven. And a man draws a bow at a venture, not aiming at anyone, and the arrow flies blind across the whole battlefield and finds the one joint in Ahab's armor. He bleeds out in his own chariot while the battle rages, and they bring the chariot home, and they wash it at the pool of Samaria, and the dogs come and lick up his blood, and half the curse is paid in the open street where everyone can see it. But she lives on. Queen Mother now, her sons wear the crown. She is old and still painted, still iron, still certain that the curse was for him and not for her. And the kingdom forgets. The years smooth it over. The prophet is long dead. The vineyard is just a vineyard. No one is counting the days anymore. God is counting the days. There is a captain in the army named Jehu, hard and fast and merciless, and a young prophet comes and pours oil on his head in secret and anoints him to do the one thing that has been waiting all these years, to wipe out the house of Ahab, to avenge the blood of the prophets she buried, and the blood of Naboth crying up from his stolen ground. Jehu does not hesitate. He drives furiously, his chariot tearing across the land, and he kills her son the king with an arrow through the heart. And he throws the body into the field of Naboth, the very ground she stole with a forged letter. The loop closes. The king dies on the stolen dirt. And then Jehu turns his horses toward Jezreel, toward the palace, toward her. And we are back at the window where we began. She hears that he is coming. She knows what he is and what he has done and exactly what he means to do to her. And she does not hide, and she does not flee, and she does not fall to her knees. She paints her eyes black, and she fixes the crown into her hair, and she stands in the open window like the queen she has been for 30 years, defiant to the final breath. As his chariot thunders through the gate, she calls down her last taunt, naming an old traitor who once murdered his master and lasted only 7 days on the throne he stole. Had Zimri peace, she sneers, who slew his master. Even now, with death in the courtyard, she is reaching for the upper hand. Jehu does not answer her. He does not argue. He lifts his eyes to the window, and he calls out to the palace, "Who is on my side? Who?" And in the window above her, 2 faces appear, then 3, her own servants. The eunuchs who have stood behind her chair and carried her cup and feared her for a lifetime. "Throw her down," Jehu says. And they do. The men who served her for 30 years take the most powerful woman in the world and throw her out of her own window. Her blood splashes the wall and the horses, and Jehu drives his chariot straight over her, the wheels and the hooves, and rides on into the courtyard without a backward glance. He goes inside. He sits down. He eats. He drinks. The reckoning is so complete, it does not even interrupt his meal. And then, almost as an afterthought, wiping his mouth, he gives an order. Go, see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. Even her killer remembers, at the end, that she was royal. Even Jehu grants her a grave. But when the men go out to bury her, there is nothing left to bury. They search the ground beneath the window, and they find the skull. They find the feet. They find the palms of her 2 hands, and nothing else. The dogs of Jezreel have done the rest, in the street, in the shadow, exactly where the wild man in the coat of hair said they would, years ago, when she was untouchable and young. The men come back white-faced, and they tell Jehu, and Jehu remembers, and the memory closes the whole story like a door. This is the word of the Lord, he says, which he spoke by his servant Elijah the Tishbite. In the field of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel. 30 years she ruled a kingdom. In the end, she could not rule a single dog. The sentence spoken in the wilderness, by a starving man she had tried to kill, by a God she swore she could erase, outlived her by 3 decades, and was waiting in the street the entire time. She buried the prophets. The prophet's word buried her. She forged a king's name to murder the innocent, and the word of the King of Heaven could not be forged, could not be bought, could not be bent, and it stood when her iron broke. Centuries later, another trial, another fast called to make a murder look holy, another pair of false witnesses, paid and prompted, swearing to lies in front of the crowd, another innocent man standing in a court that has already decided to kill him before the first word is spoken. The shape of it is exactly the same. The lying mouths, the rigged verdict, the borrowed authority, the blood of the innocent spilled so the powerful can take what is not theirs. But this time, the innocent man is not Naboth in a borrowed vineyard. This time it is the one who made the vineyard, and the hills it grows on, and the sea that Jezebel's ships once sailed. She forged a king's name to steal a dead man's inheritance. Centuries later, men forged charges against the King of Kings, and instead of stealing an inheritance, he gives his own away. Naboth's blood cried out from the ground for vengeance, and a whole dynasty came crashing down. This blood cries out too, but it does not cry for vengeance. It cries mercy. The same door Jezebel watched swing open and refused to walk through, the same door her husband bent his neck to pass and lived, he throws it open wide, and he nails it open with his own hands, so that anyone who turns, even at the very end, even a thief dying beside him, even a soldier standing under him, even a queen who buried prophets and forged a murder, anyone who turns can walk through it and live. She was offered that door. So are you. Here are 3 truths to carry out of this. First truth. Evil is patient, and it is quiet, and it almost never arrives in one dramatic leap. It comes one silenced conscience at a time. You know the feeling, the small voice that says, "This is wrong," and how easy it is to write one letter, sign one name, tell one lie, look away one more time, until the voice stops speaking at all. Jezebel did not become a monster overnight. She got there one signature at a time. Guard the small voice. It is the last thing standing between you and the wall. Second truth. What you bow to, you become. She knelt to a god of appetite and power and control, and over 30 years she became appetite and power and control with a crown on her head. Whatever you feed grows. Whatever you worship gets to keep you and slowly remake you in its image. So be careful, with your whole life, what you choose to kneel before. Third truth. The door stays open longer than you deserve, but it does not stay open forever. She watched repentance work right in front of her. She watched a weaker person bend and be spared, and she chose her pride over her life. The door was open the entire time she ruled. It was open the day she ordered the murder. It may have been open the moment she stood in the window. But there is a last day for every open door. While you can still read these words, yours is open. Do not be the one who can see it and refuses to walk through. Which of those three hits hardest right now? Drop a 1, a 2, or a 3 in the comments, and tell me in one line why that one found you. If this story held you all the way down, hit the like, because it is the single thing that tells this channel to carry these stories to people who have never once heard them told straight. Subscribe if you want the next one the night it drops, because there is a whole book of these, and we are only getting started. And share it with one person who needs to hear that the door is still open, that the word still stands, that it is not too late to bend, because that, in the end, is the whole reason we make these. You decide what comes next. Elijah, the prophet who outran a chariot and called fire from the sky, and then collapsed under a tree and begged God to let him die. Or Jehu, the driver with blood on his hands who became the blade of God. Type Elijah or Jehu. Most votes wins. That's the next one.